Oh, blessed love, give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. Wonderful. Very thankful that you are in our presence again. Of course, you know this is the Tiger's Nest. At this moment, we are still celebrating the Earth Strong, the Earth Day, what you would call the birthday, 128th year anniversary celebration of the birth of Haile Selassie the First. Of course, you know the 23rd of July, 1892. And what we are actually doing this day, we are going to be continuing even from our reasoning previous night, you know, when we went into the truth, the real Haile Selassie. And of course, I know many of you full enjoyed that. So what we are doing now, we are going to kind of continue that reasoning, kind of wrap a bow around it, really. Not really a summary. I'm not going to go over all we did previous night, but I somewhat bring into you a part two, but a very short, hopefully, a part two. Definitely not as lengthy as previous night. What I'm going to be doing, I am going to be actually watching the video, at least a piece of it, the Who is the King of Glory. If you remember, I was telling you that you should take a look at the documentary we did, the lecture, the video lecture we did entitled Is Haile Selassie a Mason? And then the one we did, Who is the King of Glory? These two, you should really check them out. But what we're doing, we're having what they call a watch party as such. So I will be watching Who is the King of Glory. In fact, I already started, you know, but I just said, let me bring you in. We're just going to look at a bit of it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a specific situation. We haven't showed this yet. This is something brand new to kind of add, give more credence to our point that Haile Selassie is the King of Glory, even speaking geopolitically. We ain't talking religion here, even speaking geopolitically. So yes, we are going to have a special watch party too in a few days. We'll be watching the Night of the Black Tiger. This will be, what's this, the second anniversary of the documentary we did, The Night of the Black Tiger. This year, the 17th of August, will make 2 years since we have produced and brought forward The Night of the Black Tiger. Do you have your own personal copy of The Night of the Black Tiger? That is the divinity of Marcus Messiah Garvey. You should. You should also, today is the day where you should be looking at The Master of Ceremonies. That's another full-length documentary that we did. The divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie the First. And then, of course, you have Seven, which is the divinity of King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. These are our three main official full-length documentaries, you know, talking about Master of Ceremonies, Haile Selassie, Seven, King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, and of course, the Night of the Black Tiger, Marcus Messiah Garvey. I mean, that says it all. Anyone that wants to understand the truth of the three in one and the one in three as it relates to the prophet and the priest and the king, these three documentaries, these full-length documentaries will do you good. And let me just say something here. Share a little secret. It's not a secret, but a lot of people not picking it up. You see, when you subscribe to our Shock of the Hour program, this is our audio radio program now. This is not YouTube. This is not videos. This is our nightly program, the program that we do every night. We have subscribers that get our program every day. We send it to them in their email, in their inbox. They get our nightly program, The Shock of the Hour. And just like the title says, it's about an hour, sometimes a little more. And it always leaves you shocked because we pride ourselves on bringing the information and the knowledge. But of course, you know, the difference here is that the mystics is very important, you know, a key ingredient to our presentation. The mystics, everything about our presentation must have the mystics in it, and that's why we stand out. That's why we are different, and that is just the truth, you know. So the point is that when you become a subscriber to the Shock of the Hour, you can be a monthly subscriber, like you subscribe on a monthly basis. 6 months or a year, which obviously the more you take, the more economical it would be for you. But listen to this. When you become a subscriber, even if it's just for 3 months, you receive all our accessories. You didn't know that? You get the DVD video, The Night of the Black Tiger. You get the full-length video, which is in 2 parts, 7, the divinity of the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. You get the master of ceremonies, which is the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie.WHO. These are 3 full-length documentaries, videos for you. And they're child-friendly too, you know what I mean? Then, of course, you get the full Cosmic Code series. You don't know about the Cosmic Code? I mean, that is a 4-part video lecture series decoding the movements of the heavens, decoding the science of the movements of the stars and how they are connected to theology. This is where astronomy meets theology. That is the Cosmic Code. I'm talking about 4+ hours just worth of knowledge. All of that you get, all of that. So we gone 4 + 3 is what? That's 7 videos that you get by just subscribing to the Shock of the Hour. Oh, then you get the books. Man, you didn't know what's going on, man. All of our subscribers have all of this. Then you get the books. You get A New Ancient and Modern Revisited. You do get the True Biblical Land of Israel. And you get our brand new ebook, which is The Heavens Declare the Glory. Rastafari meets the cosmos. Rastafari and the cosmos, pardon me. So all of this is a part of the package. When you subscribe to the Shock of the Hour, you are at least a 3-month subscriber. You've gone 3 months, you'll get all of these products, my brothers and sisters. And anybody that's on our subscription team, even people that come off of the subscription team, we still send them our products when we produce them, our lectures, our books, and our full-length videos. So my brothers and sisters, whether you know it or not, once you become a subscriber, it's almost like you become a part of the family. So all you got to do is email us, priestisaac27@gmail.com, and I would encourage you as your friend, take advantage. And remember, don't be selfish. Many of you have children. That's why I tell you our DVD documentaries, they're child-friendly. Check The Night of the Black Tiger. Children love it. That's why I say it like that. Don't be selfish. Share the knowledge. We're almost giving it away. Share the information. You got to keep in mind, these things that we do send as you can purchase them, we put a lot of work into them, a lot of work, time, and even money, even in our research and travel, just to make sure we bring the right information to you. So I'm telling you, when you subscribe, you get all of this information. I would advise that you take advantage of it. And don't forget your youths and them, man, your children. And the only thing we don't give to the subscribers is obviously our homeschool program. That's in a bracket all by itself. That's in a world by itself. And that is something I would also encourage you to, look into. So anyway, what we're going to do right now, I'm not even going to go into any long talking. Let us go straight into this documentary here. Who is the King of Glory? And we will continue the reasonment from there. So as I said, this is the 23rd day of July, 1892 was the birthday or the year of Haile Selassie.WHO. Right now we are in the 20 and 20. So that means we are looking at 128th year anniversary celebration cycle. And I'm going to show you some other mystic things. You think previous night was mystic? You think last night was mystic? Oh, wait until you hear this. Let's follow this up. As I said, we're not going to give you the fullness, but this is a short piece of the documentary we did, which is on YouTube, by the way. Who is the King of Glory? For it. And
hey, that's me.
Interesting stuff.
This one's called the Persian Empire, where we have Barbara Walters. Barbara.
There's so much that one should understand about this event, both historically and in terms of modern times. And I thought I'd try to give you the who, what, where, how, and why right now. Who? Well, our host is the Imperial Majesty Shahanshah, which means King of Kings, Shahanshah of Iran, Mohammad Reza. Been the Shah since 1941. He's one of the richest men in the world. This country is a constitutional monarchy. The Shah has full power. He appoints the Prime Minister. He can dissolve the Parliament. He controls the army. He can declare war. He can conclude peace treaties. He controls the press. Very little criticism of him is allowed. His word is indeed the law.
Now, so this is the American news agency reporting on the events there in 1971. So she was definitely, that's Barbara Walters there on the ground while the festivities are taking place. Okay, this is an interesting event. This event, you know, although we gloss over it, is something that you have to look at deeply. The heads of state that came, in reality, even when one may say, okay, but remember, in 1930, Haile Selassie was crowned, interestingly, the same title, the King of Kings, and 72 representatives of the heads of state came. What's interesting here with the Shah and Shah is that, yes, he has a few representatives there too, but the vast majority of his invited guests are the literal, actual head of states, including Negu Senegas, Haile Selassie.
Who is here today? Well, 69 heads of state, and it's quite a list, either the heads themselves or their representatives. The list includes one emperor.
Hold on. So Barbara Walters now, I will get a little loud here in a few moments. So Barbara Walters now is expressing to us who is at this grand celebration, the Shah, you know, man. The Shah of Iran is having a party. This fella here went into the desert of Iran and planted tens of thousands of trees. This is billions of dollars basically in today's money is being spent here to bring in tens of thousands of all sorts of trees and plant them, and water system, irrigation system. The man created a pool and couple ponds and created a tent city unlike anything ever seen, especially in that time. It is said that he imported tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of birds and all kind of birds to live in the trees, and the vast majority of them just died off. Because, I mean, them is birds, I say, man. Birds. You don't even have them in a cage, really. Birds ain't gonna just stay in that little spot as big as you think it is. You know? So they were not in their natural habitat and they just died off. So he went out of his way, having this big banquet. When they speak of the amount of things that were needed for the banquet, we're going to get to that. Material, food, so many different things, but we are going to get to that. But the guest list now, 69 heads of states. And listen to what Barbara Walters says. She's giving you the rundown on the heads of states that are there. She already gave you the sum, 69. So she's going to start from the smallest number, go up. But interestingly, she began by saying that there is one emperor. And this is obviously the King of Kings, Haile Selassie.WHO. Remember, the Shah is being crowned King of Kings. This is, remember the video, the Pope, Haile Selassie battling the Pope. I mean, this is the same kind of vibes, you know. Follow me, God. This is cosmic warfare. Who is the King of Kings? Who is the real King of Kings? We will see. This whole inauguration or coronation, whatever you call this, alone proves who the real King of Kings is. Let us go with the flow. Who is the King of Glory?
Who is here today? Well, 69 heads of state, and it's quite a list. Either the heads themselves or their representatives. The list includes 1 emperor, 8 kings, 5 queens, 15 presidents, 5 emirs, 4 ruling princes and dukes, 1 royal princess, 2 governor generals, 2 heirs apparent, 4 junior princes, 3 vice presidents, including Vice President Agnew, 4 prime ministers, 7 sheiks, and 1 wife of the president, and that's everything but a partridge in a pear tree.
Now, so basically, you could hear there was even a good amount of kings there, presidents, dukes. In fact, the Duke himself, Prince Philip, he was there as well. Queen Elizabeth was not there, and according to this documentary, she was absent for specific reasons, and you may guess what the reasons are, and more than likely you are correct. But then that even brings it more to our point, and it will prove our point more and more, you know. But anyway, you see, my brothers and sisters, this now. So we're drawing the picture here. As I said, we are in Iran, the ancient city of Iran. And Mr. Shah is basically kind of recreating and reenacting the history of his people as it relates to their anciency and their ancient city, and of course the ancient heroes and ancestors. So this is what he's trying to bring to life, and using his power to gather his, his counterparts from across the globe to come and pay homage to him as the King of Kings in Iran. That's basically what's going on. All right, let's listen to this.
Cyrus, King of Kings, champion long before Magna Carta of human rights and liberties. Cyrus, the founder of Persian culture and the father of Iran, the land 5 times the size of Great Britain, which this Shah rules today. It had fallen to him, after a twilight in his nation's long history, to remind the world and his own people of Persian pride.
So you get a good comprehension there of the science, that is going through. Now, at the beginning of all of this, the Shah gave a great speech. And we're going to get a bit of encounter here from a witness, an individual that was there working with the Shah. And he's going to explain to you what took place. And while the Shah was giving this speech, he's giving the speech at the tomb of the same Cyrus that he's now mimicking. And the brother said that all of a sudden 2 what they call dust devils, small dust devils, they would say, just appeared out of nowhere on both sides of the tomb. Interesting stuff. Let's just... All right. Yes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip that part. This is me now speaking. This is not the documentary. This is me here, live and direct. This is not the documentary speaking. I'm going to skip over that part of the documentary just a bit, my good brothers and sisters. So we're not going to listen to his speech. We're going to go straight into the arrival of the guests so we can continue to make our point.
And to highlight one or two things that I think you would like to.
Most people even remember this verse.
Listen to this now.
Okay. You're listening.
In the middle of October 1971, 62 heads of state converged on the airport of the fairy tale city of Shiraz. In a patchwork of color, in a whirl of salutes. Bows, curtsies, familiar faces in the world scene stepped out of their aircraft over red carpets, fringed with guards of honor, into the welcoming Persian sunlight. It was just like this. Too much was happening to pick out the detail. For all the arrivals, ceremony and protocol had to be carefully observed. None who were there saw it all. So began one of the most historic cultural gatherings the world has ever seen.
And let me just remind you here now, this is me speaking here, live in Command Center, 23rd of July, 2020, celebrating, yeah. Let me just highlight to you that at the end of this, not even the end, we're not really watching this off, eh? I'm just highlighting some few points of this. You can go and watch the whole of this if you want. But I'm going to highlight something after we're done with this to kind of give more credence to this, something we have never touched before. So just keep that in mind as we continue to look at, who is the real King of Kings, but the real Haile Selassie. Very, very, very important stuff.
The only person that was sitting in headquarters in Persepolis was me. I couldn't sleep. I was scared to death because something this elaborate, any small thing that could happen would be a scandal. One of these African countries requested to our embassy.
Now, before we go any further, we have Isa Malek. This is Isa Malek. He was at that time the deputy chief of protocol. Remember, we're talking in 1971, so he was a bit younger, obviously, 40-something years maybe younger. And he was the deputy chief of protocol. So he said, man, he couldn't sleep. I mean, all these heads of state in one place. What are you talking about? He was like, wow, I mean, come on. So he had to deal with all the different details. So he's saying this African head of state. And, you know, I find this interesting because he never actually at this time says who it is. Now, after he speaks of this head of state, he goes on to speak of Haile Selassie. And he does a bit of mathematics that makes you kind of put the two stories together, but you see what I'm talking about. But anyway, he speaks of this African head of state.
Any small thing that could happen would be a scandal. One of these African countries requested to our embassy that they'd like to bring 10 people with the head of state. 5 was the maximum. He said these are his personal guards.
Now, okay, let's get that said. He said that this African state, the leader says that he wants to bring 5 people. Mr. Malek said that, no, he wanted to bring 10 people, yes. Mr. Malek said that 5 was the maximum. Okay. So you mean to say, as a head of state, you come in. This is what the man said. As a head of state, all these kings and dukes, and they can only bring 5 people. Well, that's a lot of people, but that's just to show you how tight the thing was. That you could not come with more than 5 people. This African head of state said that he coming with 10. He didn't say who the African head of state was. All right.
That 2 of them must sleep under his bed. So His Majesty said, okay, let this one have his 10.
So His Majesty said, he's talking about the Shah. So His Majesty said, okay, let this one have his 10. All right.
And he brought 10 guys. HAILE SELASSIE came with 75 people.
Okay, hold on now. And he said, and he brought 10 guys. So this head of state wanted to bring 10. We only can permit 5. Here the man said, the man, they only can permit 5.
Please pardon me, Command Center here now. As you could see, we're having a little issue there with our technology as far as the internet. Well, as I said, this is the 23rd day of July, 2020. I mean, prior to today, the place was dry, wasn't it, Princess?
Yep.
Dry as a bone, as they say, wasn't it, Princess?
Indeed.
Dry like chips. And I mean, right now it's thunder and lightning and a lot of heavy, thick clouds out there, and the rain is coming, going and coming and going and coming. So I don't know if the whole atmosphere has something to do with the disruption of the G's. The G's, man, the 4 G's, the 5 G's, the 3 G's, and all the other G's. But just tiger with me. Let us continue and hope that it flows a little smoother for us.
Only 5 you can bring. This 5. Wanted to bring 10. We only can permit 5. Here the man said, the man, they only can permit 5. Only 5 you can bring. This African head want 10. He had to go to the Shah and say, Your Majesty, what to do? And the Shah said, okay, make him pass.
Have his 10.
Have his 10.
And he brought 10 guys.
And he brought 10 guys. All right, to me that sounds like one story. Now this sounds like a next story.
HAILE SELASSIE came with 75 people on a plane.
HAILE Selassie came with 75 people on a plane. So obviously the king have 70 more than the limit.
I remember I went nuts because these guys, who's going to take care of 85 people?
He went nuts. He went nuts. The man say he went nuts. He want to know who's going to take care of all these people here. Now what I'm highlighting here, simple as it may sound, that these people had a limit of 5. That's the limit, you know, 5. HAILE Selassie come in one of them big jumbo jets with 75 people. It didn't sound like HAILE Selassie got any problem whatsoever. Mr. Malek found some place to make sure he could accommodate all those who came with, hear this, the King of Kings, Negusa Negas, you see? And this is why we have to be clear now with our word. Shah and Shah and Negusa Negas is 2 different beings, 2 different people here. So Negusa Negas, the Negas from Abyssinia, came with 75 lions, brother. People like human beings. And you were only allowed to come with 5. And they had to make way and room for these people. I find that very, very, very important. Now, why wasn't Queen Elizabeth there? This is the Queen of England. Why didn't she come to see the coronation of the King of Kings?
Clearly felt a bit awkward about the pretensions the Shah was portraying. Clearly in Britain, for instance, they were not keen for the Queen to go because they thought if he's pushing it about that he's the premier monarch in the world, or this, you know, we don't want to be in a position where our monarchs are seen as paying homage to the King of Kings.
No. So the Queen of England, she's the Queen of England. And you have to imagine to yourself, you know, the time frame that we're dealing with there. So the Queen of England is saying that she, you know, Britain is saying that they don't want her to go and pay homage to the Shah because it's kind of, you know what I mean, but she dealt with the Shah already. But at that time, he wasn't King of Kings. She dealt with the Shah already, but at that time, the Shah was not King of Kings. So now that he's proclaiming himself King of Kings, Elizabeth is refusing to go. Now, this is where we refer back to, is Haile Selassie a Mason? The documentary I'm talking about, the video lecture. It's a video lecture like this one. But this one is in both audio and video. And in that lecture, we obviously gave, I think, a good understanding with what Mason is and Freemason is. We went into that on an academic level. We don't have no time to be, you know, playing around and Illuminati and just get lost in this thing. Let's deal with it realistically. What is a Mason? What you talking about? What's a Freemason? Where did it begin according to what we are, you know, they teach us, at least what we go and research for ourselves. The Knights of the Templars, the Knights of the Temple of Solomon, you know, very key. You got to get into this. The Knights of the Garter. And we showed you the ceremony where Haile Selassie, his space, replaced that of him who is supposed to be the head of the Knight of the Garter, which is the Prince of Wales, who at that time was Prince Charles, even at this time. Is Haile Selassie a Mason? It's on the YouTube. I can't go into it right now in the fullness. Just watch it again to get a good comprehension of where the king, you know, is on the chessboard. Them is history, you know. That's done passing, man. The king live it, you know. The king alive. That period done gone. That has already been fulfilled. We ain't got more time to be playing Ring Around the Rosie with Elizabeth and them people here. This is a different level now we gone to. But as we reflect on history, you know, it was obvious that greater than Solomon is here. That's why we came to the conclusion that Haile Selassie in that quote-unquote Masonic game was not just the Grandmaster, but the great architect, which is God himself. So I'm saying, whether you agree with it or not, that is what the heads of the world were seeing. Those who are practicing the Masonic rites. You believe that all leaders of the world got to be Mason, all right, and got to practice some kind of funny handshake, okay, all right. But they understood that their grandpappy Solomon and his great-great-great-grandson, whether you believe David existed or not, they laugh when you talk. We not talking about that. What are you talking about? That's where you carry the thing? Yeah, but greater than Solomon is here. Whether you believe in Solomon, that don't mean nothing. They see Haile Selassie as the great descendant of Solomon. and treat him in the rights of Solomon, who they consider their great-great-grandmaster. And this is not just Solomon, but greater than Solomon is here, the great architect with the compass and the square, creating the atmosphere. Negus and Nagas is here, and they know that. Who you think they call upon in prayer? So how many times Elizabeth buck upon the king? From she's a little girl, she see the God come and check her papi. George, the how much he is, I can't remember. 5th? Yeah. How many times? And when she became queen, and she understand, and giving him back his scepters and all of these different things, and showing pure reverence, and her mommy, Queen Mother Elizabeth, how she fall to the floor when the king come and visit them. The picture is there, and with the flowers in her hand, how they reverence the King of Kings, giving him the holy space. In the tradition, the only ceremony the emperor went to of the Knights of the Garter, no one could put on their hat before the emperor put on his hat. Watch the video. Them is the levels that they have the emperor of Ethiopia, Queen Elizabeth I talking about. Who on earth is the Shah? Give me a break. Who is he? You know, see, she refused to go. She refused. The man just says, oh, wait, hey, let me pull it back. I mean, I think we missed the point. I think that went over everyone's head. Everyone's head. Don't mind the King of Kings.
Hold on there, my good brother. Before you go and pull back, let me just add here. I don't know if he mentioned it, but he definitely mentioned it in the who is Haile Selassie Mason. The space that the emperor occupies here as well. If the emperor was not at this ceremony here, this fella here, which is Prince Charles, same Prince Charles who had COVID-19, he would have been in this very same space that Haile Selassie is in now. That's his space. You review any Night of the Garter ceremony, you will see Prince Charles here next to his grandmommy, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and behind you see, well, look at that face. You see Elizabeth, the Elizabeth of today, and of course, good old George and Georgia, Philip, really. By George, I think I wanted to say. So now, according to the knowledge, we broke this down in is Haile Selassie Mason, that this fella here, he really technically is the head of the Knights of the Garter because he is the Prince of Wales. The Prince of Wales, I guess by default, that's the right term, is the head of the Knights of the Garter. We know the monarch is the monarch, but the Prince of Wales is basically, if you want to say, the general manager there. He is the one that runs this ancient order of chivalry, the Knights of the Garter. So when a guest come, a guest don't just come up here. Nah, man, a guest hang out with the fellas on the side. Trust me. I guess hang out with the fellas on the side, the other knights that walk in the back of the procession, that come out first when we come out of Windsor Castle. That's where the guests go. Other presidents, other kings and son of man have to go with the regular knights. When the emperor comes, he don't only move with the executive, but the chief executive of this get out of his space. He's walking on the side for the emperor to walk, you know, to be in the space. So anyway, as we said, the video on YouTube is Haile Selassie Mason. We would encourage ones to look at it again, and if you haven't looked at it at all, take a scope at it, and you know it goes more deeper into what we're highlighting here. I'm not sure if the brother highlighted it in this documentary here, but let's listen and see.
Just say so, wait, pull it back. I mean, I think we missed the point. I think that went over everyone's head. Everyone's head. Don't mind the King of Kings, go. That's the King of Kings, man. The man who came to sit with the public. This is my show. Don't rush me. The one that came to to sit with the publicans and the sinners. I mean, you couldn't get no bigger publican and sinner banquet than this one here. Roast duck they have on the table, the man.
Some of them felt a bit awkward about the pretensions the Shah was portraying. Clearly in Britain, for instance, they were not keen for the Queen to go because they thought if he's pushing it about that he's the premier monarch in the world, or this, you know, we don't want to be in a position where our monarchs are seen as paying homage to the king of.
Yeah. So how come they never have no problem? How you give the man the space? They don't give nobody them space there. How many pictures of the Knights of the Garter we watch when they have even guests in the back row with all the regular knights? Nobody take Charles' space, brother. Charles don't walk on the side. Only when the emperor come, he move out the way. The head of the Knights of the Garter, the Prince of Wales. So just comprehend, vibrate, follow what we're saying here.
شما وقتی کشورها رؤسای کشورهای دنیا رو فرا شما من یادمه چون من یه
What I would like to highlight as well, this is very important, because you see, an individual may not understand that even in this zone here, okay, check it.
Everybody arrived at the entrance of that big tent at 8 o'clock. It was more than surreal. It was unbelievable. It was the biggest event of my life. To see all these people, it was so little place. For example, they hadn't invited all the ministers.
So all the cabinet wasn't there?
The cabinet was not there. Many Iranians were not, even Iranians were not invited. There was no room. There simply no room.
People hadn't planned exactly what they were going to do with all these monarchs. I mean, they had them in their tent cities, but then what? Nobody had really thought what was going to happen once they all came in the huge tent. And so the Shah and the Shahbanu were there to greet them, the guests, and they started piling up because they couldn't get through the receiving line quickly.
The problem is that not everybody arrived on time, and not everybody went in within 2 or 3 minutes. So after some time there was a queue. According to the rules of protocol, kings take precedent against others due to their permanence. So they had to go in first. There were too many of them, and more were coming. So there were 2 queues, one of kings and queens, and one of lesser mortals, like presidents and prime ministers. So it was just unbelievable.
And then there was this huge dust storm that came up, and that was and people's hairdos were getting undone, and the crowns were being held on so they wouldn't blow off, and the dresses were swirling, and the dust was getting people's eyes, and they were trying to push their way in so they wouldn't have to stand out in the dust storm.
This storm just came up the wrong time. I was scared that this big chandelier will fall on somebody's head, you know, the people. It was like the end of the world. This was not exactly what you expected for opening up the party.
Finally, everybody was sort of piling in, and they didn't know what to do, and a lot of the Europeans were related to each other, but a lot of people didn't know each other. There wasn't anybody there to sort of say, oh, you know, the Emperor of Japan, I want you to meet, that's Haile Selassie, you know. So these people would sort of stand off in corners and stare at each other.
All right. Yeah. Maybe it's one emperor there. I don't know what she's trying to say there. Now, what I'm saying here is this. As I said, it would be good that an individual could, you know, watch the documentary itself and get a a good comprehension of exactly what's taking place. Now, what is interesting is that you heard for yourself, you know, there's this precedent that, you know, the king's coming first and I guess the lesser mortals coming after. But it's all big wigs here, presidents, prime ministers. You got lesser mortals here? Wow. All right. Now, the documentary cannot show you everything, but they show you everybody lining up and bowing to the man for real. And I don't know, they just happen not to have a picture on this of Haile Selassie bowing to him. In fact, this is where we're going to go now. If you watch the documentary, there's a specific part when the heads of states are lined up coming to this man. Behind of him is standing what appears to be either, you know, his deputy or maybe the prime minister and his wife. And then there's another part of it where you see here that the emperor of Ethiopia is behind of the man, just a bit to the side, and the guests are coming and shaking his hand and bowing to him. All right, hold on. Also, they're watching the documentary because the event, I think, took about 2-3 days.
Key points.
So they had different events.
Key points.
There's fireworks. This is where the banquet is taking place. Another thing.
Go ahead, brother.
And Haile Selassie.WHO is the individual that is being chaperoned or is escorting, let me put it this way, the wife of the Shah. Now you got to have a protocol kind of mind when it comes to geopolitics, at least to get what I'm getting at here. The point I'm making is that we have all these heads of states here, and if you understand politics, when heads of states meet one another, sometimes they would exchange wives. And when I say exchange wives, it may go deeper than I mean in front of the camera, you know, but let's just keep it on this level. So as it's basically not political necessarily I'm looking at, a diplomatic Masonic game. It is a Masonic game.
Take your time, brother.
A message is being sent when an individual can walk with your wife. Hear me good, man. Hear me good. You see, even as Bobo Shanti, we say that when King Emmanuel came before the Brigadier General, he ran out of his office. And any man that he leave in his office, that man becomes the head of the army. I mean, to the untrained ear, they may say, what? Because the man come out of the office and leave you in there. That means you're the head, and that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. That's the army, man. How you will leave your office? Leaving the building office is like leaving your protocol or your post, your office as an officer. So what I'm saying, that at these special events, banquets, speeches, and other things, the protocol position seen here is Haile Selassie, the King of Kings of Ethiopia, accompanying the wife of this Shah of Iran, the King of Kings of Iran. Now, Empress Menen had already made a move, and you know the Emperor, the Emperor actually went into a monk state at that time. I mean, maybe even before that, I can't tell about the Emperor business, but the Emperor is a holy, holy vibration amongst us. So in other words, I don't want to talk about the Emperor like this, but maybe just for clarity, you know what I mean? Most High, you know, just forgive the tongue. But the Emperor ain't got no woman there. The Emperor just moving how he moving, you know what I mean? So he's not nobody to exchange with the Shah. And the Shah's wife, the Empress of Empresses, that's what her title is the one that is moving with the Emperor for the whole events. For the events is her and the king. What kind of sign is this? It means something. So why is she not flexing with Prince Philip? Why Elizabeth gonna be upset? Why is she not flexing with enough fellas there that ain't got no wife? Or didn't come with their wives? Kings and enough kings. How much kings they say? About 12 of them. How come she not flexing with none of them? Why is she moving with the emperor? I will tell you why. Just like how the emperor was given the space at the night of the god ceremony, in a sense. I mean, that's the man wife. I mean, of course, I mean we not upon them levels there. Neither is the Most High. But that doesn't take away from the symbolic gesture of the whole protocol thereof.
There was caviar at the big dinner. No, they were not night and day caviar. No.
Now listen to this.
Protocol was a nightmare of all nightmares of this thing. Everybody was sort of looking to see where everybody else was seated and who had a better seat and who had a better ranking. So all that was going on at the same time.
No, you hear that. So she's flexing it with the King of Kings. Now you hear that. Everybody was looking. No, she just said, in a sense, she spilled the beans, you know. Protocol. Everyone was looking to see who had a better seat. All right. Okay. All right. Let us see who had a better seat. I mean, she just said it, man. Everyone was looking to see who had a better seat. This was at the banquet. And I mean, they had everything there. I mean, there's thousands of bottles of wine and silk. How much silk and roast duck and this and that, 22,000 bottles, you know, wines, as we say. There's so many things. How many ostrich egg, all kind of things that was going down at this banquet. But anyway, publicans and sinners. What I'm saying is this. The queen, who's seen as like the most beautiful thing there, you know, Queen Farah, I think that's her name. She was like, wow, you know, and all the magazines all over the world had her like the bombshell, the epitome of the beauty of a woman, you know, a royal Barbie doll. So the Shah, he had his own seat. Remember, it's a heap of people here, man. Hundreds, basically. The Shah, the emperor alone come with 75. The Shah and the queen ain't there because she not gonna be seen in the company of nobody that's saying there's the King of Kings. I didn't know that. The Shah had his own seat, and I didn't touch this point. When all of these people were marching in, there was a big whirlwind outside. Eh? But anyway, the Shah had his own seat at the dinner table. More than likely, his seat would be at the head of the dinner table. That's my meditation, because, I mean, he is the King of Kings, so he has to have the head seat. And at the same time, because, yeah, he's the boss, isn't he? So he has the head seat. So his wife is not really sitting with him. If you see the way that the table is designed, it's almost for two head seats. And the Shah is like, you know, maybe at least 10 people between him and his wife, basically, or 12 or so. So he's at one of the head seats, because a lot of people in the middle, a lot of people here. And the Shah is conducting his vibe, speaking to whoever's around him. And his wife, not necessarily at the other head seat, but she's sitting to someone else, next to someone else who's basically at the head of the table. You know, and it's the same person who she's been the chaperone of or escorting for the whole festivities. HAILE SELASSIE.WHO. Even the part in the video where they all come and kiss his hand when they put the crown on his head, they fail to show HAILE SELASSIE doing that. What I'm saying is, brother and sister, this is a coronation for the King of Kings. there's a man invited to this coronation who already have the title, the King of Kings. An old man. In the next couple of years, the Derg is going to come and overthrow the monarchy that he represents. HAILE SELASSIE the first. The Negusa Negas, the King of Kings since 1930. The old lion with the battle scars to prove it. The only emperor there amongst the little children. And this little kid is going to crown himself the King of Kings. And the King of Kings is there. I don't know if he was losing his mind. Something have to be wrong with him. And just to show you who we're dealing with, you can only bring 5 people. And he put in with 75. No questions asked. And just to prove who he is, he don't need to line up with the rest and come and bow. He don't need to kiss the hand of the new King of Kings. In fact, he is the one moving with the King of Kings' wife for the whole 3 days. Diplomatic gesture, really. I mean, nothing beyond that. So who's the real King of Kings here? I mean, who's the real King of... You're being crowned King of Kings. And you bring another King of Kings. And everybody there kiss your hand except the other King of Kings. What's the point? Who is the real King of Kings? And then the Queen of Queens now in England, who feels she's the top of the world. She ain't got no problem bowing to the King of Kings of Ethiopia. She's done it several times. But for one reason or the other, she refused to show up at the coronation of this new King of Kings. A person that, you know, maybe before he was King of Kings, she didn't have a problem meeting. All of this is to explain something. Because when the Ethiopian King of Kings come to her door, she kick her son out of his seat and give him his seat.
Wow, wow.
As the head of the Knights of the Garter. Even if it's just for a day. Who is the real King of Kings? That's my question. Who is the real King of Kings? Or, to put it in the framework of the 24th Psalm of King David, who is the King of Glory?
All right, hold on there. Live and direct now from Command Center. Wonderful, wonderful. Just to, pardon. Yeah, wonderful. I think the clarity there is so, man, I didn't know that video was so hot, man. Sure. Who is the real King of Kings? I mean, wow, I couldn't say it better myself. All right. Now, what I would like to highlight now.
The Lord of Hosts, the Lord mighty in battle. Do you think this is a puppet show? I mean, the Shah, I mean, come on, he look like one of them Sesame Street puppets.
Okay, hold on, brother, hold on. Hold on, give thanks. Thanks for the information. We're going to move on now. In the interest of time, we want to highlight something here that will just add to what you just said, my good brother. Trust me. All right. Now, what I have here, this is something similar. This is in the United States. Let me make sure that you are seeing this here. Okay. All right. Good. Pardon me for that. All right. So this is a clip here from the YouTube. This is the United States. Nixon entertained foreign statesmen at the White House, 26th of October, 1970. This is more than foreign statesmen. This is the heads of states. I think you're going to see Edward Heath, that's his name, Prime Minister of Britain. You're going to see Golda Meir. Golda Meir, man, that's the Prime Minister of Israel at the time, the woman Golda Meir. And these are heads of states. These are high-ranking people at this banquet that Tricky Dicky, Mr. Richard Nixon, is having there. I always mix up the Tricky Dicky and the Slick Willie. Imagine that. That's Bill Clinton, Slick Willie. You have a president they call Slick Willie and a president they call Tricky Dicky. I'm telling you. Yeah, let's check this out. And that is Golda Meir herself. Yes, and let me just, on all respect to this is this video is coming from Biriam Heruit, I think that's how it's pronounced. That channel there on the YouTube. So that's Golda Meir there. So you see all the heads of states, Japan, different parts of West Africa. Yes. That's Tricky Dicky, man. Hey, look. All right, so what I'm saying, so somewhat of a similar, hold on, don't get too far there. Somewhat of a similar, this is a very, very short clip, just 1 minute and 31 seconds. And this banquet has gone down in history too. You know, he became well known for this banquet here. That's Richard Nixon, President Richard Nixon. As I said, a lot of the heads of states, foreign ministers, etc., were here, and we already highlighted 2 key people of that time. You know, these are people that your old parents will talk about: Golda Meir, Edward Heath, as if them is somebody, you know what I mean? But nobody talk about Haile Selassie. Check. If you look in the distance, Haile Selassie is here. That's Haile Selassie here. See, he have his own personal assistant and servant standing behind him. Look right here, that's the King of Kings, Haile Selassie. He's obviously at the head of the table. Let's look at this good. That's him there. All right. What is outstanding here? Now remember in our previous, what we were just looking at here, who is the King of Glory? We were showing that the King of Kings, the Shah, his wife was really the chaperone of the Negus and Nagas for the 3 days. And we already explained that, we went into that. And what you're looking at here now is something similar. There's no Empress Menen, so I mean the exchange is not. But just the position, remember position is everything. Masonry, whether you like it or not. Stop sticking your head in the ground, man. There is a lot of science here. The emperor is placed in between Richard Nixon and his wife. And even if he wasn't in between them both, the fact that he is the closest guest to Richard Nixon in a room filled with heads of states, that alone shows you, just like the Night of the Garter, just like Mr. Shah's little show that he was having, and just like even what we spoke of previous night, the emperor, the real Haile Selassie, Billy Graham, hear what Yogi Raj says when he said he met him as an under guard of Scotland Yard in 1982, the guest of the Queen Mary. What the words that President Kennedy had to utter. And when President Kennedy died a few weeks after the emperor left and the emperor returned to the United States for his funeral, and heads of states were there again in numbers. And when you look at the picture, the leading statesman that was at the front of that was again Haile Selassie. Listen, my point is, it's obvious. This is not religion. It is obvious beyond any shadow of a doubt that the chief statesman in the whole entire planet at this time was Haile Selassie. No other person, nobody, no queen, no other emperor, no president, nobody in the whole entire world. It's obvious. This is undeniable. If you want to debate that, step up. It's undeniable. This is not religion. This is not who is Jesus. This is not who is God. We can bust that down too. But undeniable, from the program we did previous night to what we're looking at here, no human being can deny. They're just pretending, they're brainwashed from their dumbed down education that the educational system that Rockefeller created has been feeding us for years. That's all, that's what's happening there. What I brought to the table today and yesterday is irrefutable. The chief statesman in modern history, even up to now, is Emperor Haile Selassie I. We need to just behave ourselves. Give thanks. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Rastafari. Blessed.